In this series of videos, we will talk about how to use the dimensioning tools inside of ORD. We'll talk about how to place dimensions, how to edit dimensions, and also how to change dimensions that are already placed. We will also go over how it's set up underneath our CAD Standards workflow through our CAD Standards. Now, to get to our dimensioning tools, we will go underneath the workflow of MoDOT CAD Detailing Standards and go to the appropriate ribbon up here, and I will go to Design for this example. And if we go underneath General Annotation, you're going to see some dimensioning options underneath there. So depending on which style of dimensioning that you'd want to use, that's the one that you would select. And of course, once you select that, it's going to load up the attributes for that dimensioning and also the appropriate element dimensioning tool. Now you can use a different tool if you wish, but that's what it's going to do by default. And of course, if you were in Bridge, you'd go to the Bridge ribbon, go underneath General Annotation, and you'll see some dimensioning options underneath there. So depending on which division that you're in, that's the ribbon that you would go to. Now for this example here, we're just going to use Design. Now the other thing that we will need to look at is where do we want to place the actual dimensions. Now Bentley's workflow is whenever you create a named boundary, which actually outputs the sheets, which that's demonstrated in a separate video. Let me go back to the drawing workflow. Whenever you do the named boundary option, it's going to create a boundary in your default model, and then of course it creates a drawing model and a sheet model, which the sheet model actually has the border, like what it's shown right here. Let me go back to the default. Now, depending on where you want to place it at, the dimensions, you could either put in the default model or the drawing model. Bentley has it set up to where you do your plan graphics in your default model, and then if you go to the drawing model, which is this one right here, and the screen will look a little bit different color, look kind of gray. Here's where they want you to put your other stuff like text and notes and dimensions and stuff like that that doesn't really pertain to your plan graphics. So that's where you'd place your dimensioning. Or, depending on the situation, you can also put it in the default model. It really doesn't matter. It's just the way the Bentley has it set up is they kind of want it in the drawing model. But for MoDOT purposes, it all depends on the situation that you got, depending on if you want it in the default model or the drawing model. So that's what you would determine next. Where do you want to place the dimensions? And then after that, you can start using the dimensioning tools to place your dimensions accordingly. And that's what we will talk about in the next videos on how to use those dimensioning tools. So that's kind of an overview of the dimensioning and how it's going to be used with the MoDOT workflow inside of ORD.